If you've been thinking about making an investment in real estate and you've been considering this term called house hacking, this is the video that you're going to want to watch. We're going to talk to someone who just recently did their first house hacking purchase. Hi, I'm Evan Whaley, your favorite Greenville realtor, and I've got Corbin Fleck here that is on our real estate team. He just recently bought his first home that him and his wife are going to be house hacking. The person that's watching this has no idea what house hacking is. Give us a 30-second commercial on what that actually is.
Yeah, so basically house hacking is the idea of you have to live in a place, so you'd rather own the place than rent it. So that's the first step. And then if you're going to live in the place and own it, you might as well make money off of that as you're living in it.
So Corbin, I guess, can you just share with everyone, what'd you do? How did it happen? Just kind of give everyone a quick story.
So my wife and I knew that first home that we wanted to buy was going to be a house that we could make money off of while we were living in it. So we wanted to make sure that if we weren't getting our full mortgage paid for, we at least weren't paying our full mortgage. So we were looking for either a duplex or a house that had a basement that we could use to turn into an apartment. So we were able to find a 3.5 townhome with a walkout basement, and all we've had to do is install a kitchen. Now we're not paying our full mortgage. So.
That's incredible. So you have renters down in the basement level, and where else in this house?
Yes, we have one renter in the basement, and then upstairs we have 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, and there's only 2 of us. We don't have kids. Both of us don't work from home, so we figured we only need a guest room and we need ours, and so we figured we might as well make money off the 3rd room. So
tell me a little bit about the property that you bought. How did you find it? How old is it?
I figured when we would be buying a house, we would probably have to look for a little bit of an older home. But thankfully a brand new house popped up. A townhome was just being finished being built. It was one of the only townhomes in the entire community that actually had a walkout basement. We knew that when you're looking at a walkout basement, you're looking for, obviously it has an exterior door, you're looking for a bathroom, you're looking for a kitchen, and then you're looking for laundry. And we already had the bathroom and we already had the walkout door. So we knew 2 out of 4 was probably as close as we were getting. So
especially new construction, that's incredible.
Especially new construction.
That's awesome. What do you guys pay for your monthly payment, and what are you guys going to be getting for rent?
The bottom we were looking to rent for about $750 to $850, somewhere in that range. And that would include utilities for the tenant as well. And then the upstairs we rent for a flat fee of $400. With our awful mortgage rate at the moment, we're looking at about $1,800 a monthly payment, but between downstairs and upstairs, we're only paying about $800 a month to actually live in the home.
That's including everything, right? For you guys, utilities, all that. Okay, so how much did you pay for the house?
$255.
Okay, $255 for the house. So you're spending $800 a month. I mean, I guess even with interest rates now, you're getting a couple $100 a month on your principal payment as well. That's a great wealth building strategy. Again, just to recap here, so $1,800 a month for your payment. You've got one rental from the downstairs from that apartment. You're getting about $850 on. Then you've got the one room rental upstairs where you're getting $400 for it. Factor in, put all your utilities and everything in there. You're spending about $800 a month for your home, which I don't know that anyone could really find a rental, especially not a good quality rental in a great area like you're in, that of course they're even making money on as well. So this is a phenomenal idea. I commend you for being so intelligent and thinking through that, and really working on building you and your family's wealth. If you're talking to someone that's thinking about making a house hacking investment, what are some of the things that they should be thinking about?
I think targeting exactly what kind of property you're going to want is going to be really important, and you're going to probably need to start with that by knowing what your needs are in a home for you personally, and then what are probably wants in that second category, or wants but you don't need to have them, and then what are you okay with giving up. You have the potential situation where you might have to share a kitchen with somebody or something like that. You have to know exactly what you're okay with. So with my wife and I, we have somebody living in the upstairs with us. She shares the kitchen with us, but she's a friend. We knew that we would be okay with that.
I think something that is important for someone else to note in this is that you thought about this from a long-term perspective too, because even if you don't have the upstairs rental, you still have that studio apartment style down there. That's a completely different space. Everyone's got everything that they need. So I think that was a really good and smart idea. So what's next for you in investing in real estate? What's your plan here? Is it just kind of a one and done? Do you want to do this again? What are your thoughts?
So I had to run the numbers before we decided to buy this home. I ran the numbers at what do they look like while I'm living there, and then what do they look like after we move out. The numbers worked while we lived there, and the numbers work after we moved out if we have the 2 separate spaces that we're renting. So our plan for right now is to turn that apartment make it more and more separate from the rest of the house. And then once we're in that position, we're actually planning on moving out and doing this again, potentially doing it 3 to 5 times in the next 3 to 5 years.
That makes sense. Now, I know we've talked about this a lot, but some other people might not know, why are you even going to move out of this house? Why wouldn't you just go buy the next place and stay where you're at? Why would you do that?
Very good question. So when you purchase a home that is not your primary home, you have to put down 20% up front at the closing table. And so my wife and I, while we could save up for those larger down payments, it just makes more sense for us in our stage in life to actually move, save that cash. We can take that cash, we can invest it into making these apartments, making these extra living spaces that will then have a return on our investment.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So to kind of summarize that, what he's really saying is that, you know, you can qualify for all traditional loans to purchase a home, but he can qualify for those loans because he's buying that next property as his primary residence. Another benefit, which you didn't mention here, is that you get a lower interest rate when the home is a primary residence versus it being a rental property. So there's a lot of advantages, and that's why a lot of people are choosing to go this route and buy a home every year, 2 years, 3, 5, whatever it is that they can reasonably afford and are comfortable with moving, to really accumulate a lot of assets and build their wealth. So you look at this, you've said, you know, maybe 3, 5 properties here in the next 3 to 5 years. What does that look like, you know, in our market here in Greenville? Like, how much do you think is reasonable for you to be making on a monthly basis from rentals if you've got 5?
So we're looking to make a cash flow of a couple $100 a month from each one.
Per property? Okay.
Per property. So in this kind of stuff, it snowballs. So the first home, we're still paying our mortgage. So we're just paying a much smaller piece of that mortgage. But by the next one or the one after that, we won't be paying our mortgage at all, because these things are going to start compounding. You know, rent goes up every year, and so our mortgage is going to go down if you have enough properties and you take those factors into consideration. So that's the first step, and then after that, we're hoping to, you know, obviously start actually having what we would consider income from it. That's spendable money that can either go toward another investment property or vacation to Europe.
What's incredible about this is, as he mentioned, rent on average is going to go up somewhere around 3 to 5% every year. Home prices historically for the last 50 years have gone up 3%. So you're adding 3% for every property that you get every single year. That's compounding from a standpoint of your net worth. And then you also have your rent that's going up, and then your mortgage payment staying the same. So you're making even more cash flow. You're building a net worth, which is absolutely incredible, and it could just really be life-changing for you here 5, 10 years down the road. So it's a super exciting thing, and something I think a lot of people can really learn a lot from you on doing that. So the last question I have, you know, I find that when people are making their first investment, it's really scary, really nervous. I know I felt that way on my first one. You know, you analyze all the numbers about 50 times to see, is this thing gonna work? Is this thing gonna work? What were your thoughts going through it, and now what are your thoughts since you've actually made that investment?
Being a real estate agent, the home buying process is not intimidating to me anymore, thankfully, because I've gotten to help a lot of clients through that process. I was a little intimidated by just the process of getting that apartment ready, what the kind of cash that would take, and just the problems that would arise from it. But thankfully, my wife and I did our due diligence up front. You know, we got into the home with contractors and investors and things like that, so that they could give their 2 cents on the situation. I mean, after doing it, I would always encourage somebody to do it. And the other thing about it is, if this doesn't work out, at the end of the day, I have a place to live and I can sell it in 2 years and still make money off of it. There really isn't a ton of risk that we're actually taking.
So Corbin, someone's sitting at home right now, they're thinking about making this investment, they want to do what you did. Give them 5 steps here. What are the 5 things they need to do to be able to pull the trigger and make this work?
I think the first is always, of course, research. You just want to really fully understand what it is that you're doing. So you would want to do research not just on house hacking in particular, but what does a good rental investment look like in general as well. So you can get that from people who are buying rental properties all around the world. They're not necessarily house hacking, but those numbers are still going to be true whether you're in the home or not.
On that, we do have an investment pro forma. Our email's below. If you want to reach out and get that, we'd be happy to send it to you. Keep going.
Yeah, so then the second thing is, after you kind of figure out just the nuts and bolts of what owning a rental looks like, then you kind of want to figure out what kind of rental you want. And one of the best ways to do that is probably this third step, and that's figuring out, because you're going to also be living in this rental, you got to know what you would be okay with living in. I've known people who buy homes that are fixer-uppers, and they're okay with living in less than ideal conditions as they fix up the home, and that's great for them. I'm not very handy myself, so that's why we bought a brand new home, so I didn't have to worry about it. So just knowing what you want for your own personal lifestyle and how big you want your personal space to be, because you are giving up some of your space so that somebody else can rent it. So you just got to know what you're okay with.
I think that's a great point, and I'm sorry to stop before we get to the fourth step here, but what I noticed what Corbin did is they really analyzed their needs, their wants, and what they were comfortable with. So when he made this decision, it wasn't something he had to think about for months or weeks, because normally you don't have that much time when a great investment comes in front of you, but you were able to analyze exactly what you wanted. You knew the numbers already, so when it hit your desk and you saw it, you could make a decision quickly. What I find that a lot of people that are not experienced investors, they want to look at all the different options out there, and everything can work, but what's going to work for you? And if you don't know that and you're just looking at numbers on paper, a lot of times you're not going to be able to pull the trigger because you don't really know what your buy box is. And you're kind of just out there trying to figure it out as you go, and then everything looks like an opportunity. So really you just don't really take action on anything.
Yep. You know, there's always a multitude of factors coming at you, and there's a multitude of opportunities. And the key is narrowing it down. If you shoot for everything, you're going to get nothing. You know, knowing the nuts and bolts, the numbers, knowing what kind of investment you want, and then knowing what your needs are, that's going to be able to help you narrow down so that you're actually looking for something relatively specific. And so then the next step is to go through that home buying process, get in the door. Once you get to closing, then your last step, of course, is to do the necessary, whether it's repairs, installations, things like that. Because often with home hacking, you're not just going to be able to buy a home and then have somebody move in immediately. Our renter moved in before we moved in, but often you don't actually have that.
So just to make sure we recap, I know we talked about a lot of different things there. Make sure I heard this correctly. First step really is to do your research. Make sure that this is what you want to do. Step 2 is to actually analyze your needs, your wants, and then also analyze the property. So it's kind of like 2 and 3 are kind of the same, and really figure out what your buy box is. And then step 4 is really find a great realtor, find a great real estate team. You go out, start looking at properties until you finally select one. And then step 5, of course, is actually the closing process. Did I hear that correctly? Is there anything I missed? So thank you, Corbin, for sharing your experience and all your time. You know, you work with a lot of investors. You've learned a lot through this process. And we're here in Greenville, South Carolina. So if someone's thinking about making an investment, you want to talk with Corbin or I, we'd love to connect with you. Or if you're out there just someplace else and you're not even looking in Greenville, we want to help people build wealth through real estate. So we'd love to talk to you, love to see what we can do to help. We know agents throughout the entire country, so feel free to reach out to us so we can connect you to the right person to help you out with your